Okay, I finally got you to stay still, so now we can finally put you to work or die trying. Okay, this is going to take longer than I thought. One type of video game genre I think we can all agree on is the monster collecting genre. Usually these games follow a similar formula, which is catching monsters and exploring around to collect more with some small twists. Pokemon usually has you fight the Pokemon League with a team of 6 that you call along the way while collecting more. Palworld will have you collect pals for a stronger team and to commit slavery. False Flowers will have you dig up Venusaurs in order to battle a league. I'm starting to see some similarities here. But there was one series that's almost as old as Pokemon that kind of faded out until recent events, and that would be Digimon. What? Digimon, also known as Digital Monsters, is a franchise that is owned by Bandai, which debuted as a Tamagotchi for boys, where you train and take care of your own Digimon in a sort of V-Pet style. So when you meet with a friend, you can connect the two devices to have a Digimon battle. This would be a key part in certain games, as the franchise likes to hold on to its origin. Like a lot. The franchise will also gain its own anime, video games, a card game that died, then came back as a slime terrorizing players in competitive play as of now. But I am going to look at the video games here and note that's a lot of Digimon games that do not follow the same formula in each installment. Some of them will follow the original game's formula, where it's basically a video game Tamagotchi. Others will go down the line more of a general RPG or a mistake. So today I am going to be playing Digimon World Next Order for the PlayStation 4. Now, I picked this because this is mostly similar to the original Digimon World game, which, though I do have, I don't have the means to play it. And a while back it was released as a port on the Switch, so I figured this game must be something to check out. And who knows, maybe playing this game will help me learn how to take care of Goji a bit more. Hopefully. The game begins with you selecting your gender, name, and then immediately diving into the digital world. Literally. You wake up meeting War Greymon, Male Garurumon, claiming you're their partner, and immediately get attacked by Machinedramon, one of the series' most popular antagonists and one of my personal favorites. More on that later. The three duke it out and are sent to an actual digital world rather than a trap that Digimon helped set up to trap the Machinedramon from before. Then you notice your partners died and get revived to a Digi-Egg of your choice. By the way, get used to hearing Digi for everything, because that's how you differentiate Digimon from other monster games. Digimon informs you of the rampaging Machinedramons and asks for your help with recruiting the lost citizens of the city of Flodia due to these rampage, and you're off to explore the world with 2 children to take care of. Naturally, since you have 2 babies to raise, you will want to level them up to overpower the game as soon as possible. Well, it's not as simple as it sounds. In order to raise your Digimon, you need to learn the joys of parenthood, which includes feeding, scolding, encouragement, sleeping, napping, pooping. All jokes aside, yes, these are essentials to this game, much like a Tamagotchi video game, as each action can help dictate what your Digimon evolves into, because, yeah, they don't have a single evolution path. A Black Agumon can evolve into one of 4 champions depending on the stats, criteria, fondness, and possible battle wins you have to evolve, and the same goes further on. Also, to clarify, I'm going to refer to stages by number rather than by name to avoid confusion, so here's a chart using the card game to help with it. But what I mentioned already doesn't affect the level of Digimon, and you're right, because there are no levels in the game. Nah, instead you increase the stats of the Digimon in order for them to grow. The only thing I can say that leveling up is actual evolving between stages, as again, that's what the chart's for. So, how to increase these stats? By hitting the gym and hitting those weights, of course. Or assault. Now, why are these the most optimal to increase stats? I mean, you can use some fruit to increase specific stats. Why not farm those? Well, it's not as simple, as the key components of all of this is the in-game clock hovering you over the top left. This alone dictates the course of your game with the following terms of training your Digimon. As time goes on, your Digimon grows older, and at a certain point, depending on your stats and extra requirements, your Digimon can either Digivolve or die of age, restarting back into a Digi-Egg of your choice. At first, this seems like a downside, as all your work just died on you, but in reality, it's more like a prestige system. As each new generation of your partners, you get to grow faster in terms of training, making it easier to reach the requirements of Digimon that might be hard to accomplish due to high requirements. So, don't expect to make War Greymon on the first try, because I didn't even get to the 5th stage on my first 2 partners. Instead, I ended up with Saberdramon and Numemon. We'll get to you in a bit. So, with that said about time, the gym is honestly the worst of the 2 solutions. And it's to justify criminal assault. So the gym can only raise 2 stats at a time, with one of the stats having a larger growth based on which main stat you chose. And you'll get a little mini game that, when you time it right, can raise the stats a bit more with some other bonuses. And that's about it! The issue here is that only 2 stats can increase at a time on each Digimon, and the second stat doesn't get a lot of points compared to the primary stat you pick in this session. Because of this, it's easy to neglect the other stats and have a Digimon that can be lacking in multiple stats, but his attack is through the roof. A session also costs an in-game hour immediately rather than a full in real-time minute if you would just play the game. This gives you even less time to care about your partners, as you still need to balance not only the other stats, but the damn game. Making it super easy to spend most of your time in the gym, only to have a very underperforming 5th and 6th stage that struggles on some of the easier fights in the game. Not to mention, there's still the win criteria that resets every time you successfully Digiball. If you take this route as early as the baby stages 1 and 2, it's possible to have your 3rd stage Digimon turn into 2 4th stage Digimon due to the lack of accomplishment on any existing Evo paths. These guys will be Numemon and Garamon, the 2 slime Digimon. To achieve these guys, you need to have your defense or wisdom stat higher one over the other, and you'll get one of these guys with their own unique lines, and unlike the card game, these guys suck. They usually have a short lifespan, and even when you make a full evolution out of one of these, they don't come with a strong move set, and even if you grind like hell to boost their stats equal to what you think a stage 6 Digimon would be, however hilarious it may be, to beat a super serious Digimon with Slime Jesus, just like in the card game, he ain't going to do a lot. Okay, I've mentioned it quite a bit, so for context, basically the entire year until sometime in August, Numemon was a top deck in the Digimon card game. And it's a simple deck, so all you have to do is slap down a Numen and turn him into an X. And turn him into a teddy bear, then turn him into an X to spawn your more slimes. And when that stack dies, round 2, bitch. So yeah, the gym can give stats a large boost, but it takes too much time and slows down the game progress, all for you to have an underwhelming Digimon to fight with. It's fine to increase a single stat where you need it to be depending on the Digimon you want it to become, so that's why fighting Digimon is the way to go. They gotta get strong somehow. So why fight wild Digimon? Well, for starters, it's still the same monster RPG genre, so of course fighting wild animals is ingrained to the genre's DNA. But in reality, it's because if you fight the right Digimon at the right time, you can get a serious boost of stats all under in 1 game hour, as the world clock stops whenever you enter a battle. So no need to rush yourself in order to get those sweet numbers. One problem is that this method is actually slower than the last one. Yeah, so battling has its own chunk of problems to go by, one of them being you can't actually control your Digimon's actions outside commands and extra skills. The Digimon moves and attacks however the way you have your tactics set up. You can be defensive, offensive, or just straight up let your Digimon do whatever you want. Because of this, it's very possible for your Digimon to use a move that might be out of range or become ineffective upon use, since they usually have a round field to move and fight around. But you can assist them by throwing items and throwing commands that uses order points, or OP. That can only be acquired by pressing the X button, and you can gain more by timing X whenever your partners do an action like landing an attack, guarding, defeating an enemy, or etc. I did not know that last part. I honestly went through the half of the game only getting like 5 or 6 OP at a time rather than timing it to get 30 plus. When you do have enough, you have a small selection to choose from depending on what you have unlocked. There are techs, which are the moves that you see your Digimon use without your assistance, and there's also their ultimate move and extra cross evolution. The ultimate move is just a Digimon signature move with a cool cinematic to go along with. Extra cross evolution, rather EXE, is why you have 2 Digimon partners rather than the standard one that some other world games come with. It's essentially fusing your 2 compatible Digimon mid-battle when you both have 150 OP to use to make one immensely strong Digimon who will just use their ultimate attack immediately, along with a very cool music to go with. This can easily break the game depending on how you raise your partners. The DNA Digivolve Digimon can easily break you out of any jam if you're losing. Note, you also need a maximum bond with your partners towards, and I think at least 50 towards each other, or else you end up finding time out only to realize your partners don't like you enough to fuse, and thus resorting to spamming the healing items in order to brute force the fight. That was not one of my brightest moments. Despite its flaws, fighting Digimon is definitely the more preferred way to train and grinding for stronger Digimon. All your stats increase at the same time, the world clock halts during the fight so you don't lose in-game time, You can get new techs in your arsenal, and it's easier to make progress for the story. And I wish I did this sooner, as I spent most of my gameplay in the gym and struggling with the game story. Also, it's best to fight Digimon one at a time rather than in groups, as they give the same amount of XP as if you fought them single. Needless to say, this game is a grind fest for the most part and can drag by grinding alone. I eventually would get tired and frustrated at the game most of the time, as I would spend too much time raising Digimon and trying to have a stable income in order to get essential items for the game, as there are no healing centers to fully replenish your Digimon's health back. Not to mention, for the most part, if you are off in either stats or in other criteria, you can possibly get a Digimon you weren't playing to get and are now stuck with a line you may not like. And this happened numerous times for me, even when I used Grindosaurus in order to see what I needed to make the Digimon I want. At a certain point, I just wanted to beat the game just for the sake of it. Yet, I still enjoy the game all the way to the end. What the hell? I actually like this damn game? Yeah, despite how slow this game is, I ended up enjoying it once I got the hang of it. Sure, walking around is a bitch to deal with, and in order to fast travel, you must complete the Bergermon side quest in order to unlock it. And he charges you depending on where you want to go. What the hell? And don't get me started on how I feel about the progress of the main game outside of raising 2 children. So, whenever you go and complete the story mission, there will always be a certain moment between either chapters or events where you have to put the story on hold and recruit a certain amount of Digimon back to the city in order to continue. God damn it, backtracking again. This can be a pace breaker, and I understand why some people would even give up playing it at this point. Well, as I said, once you get the hang of it, the game actually becomes really enjoyable to play. The world around has genuine life as you meet Digimon all around that have their own needs and wants. These side quests can be bothersome, but can have memorable moments that let you appreciate them. Not all of them give you a new citizen to help, but have their own experience to make up for it. My favorite would be the black variants of Agumon and Gabumon, who you first meet at Mod K. These guys will fight you with 3 rounds of fighting each interaction, and as you progress through the game, you'll encounter them again, only to see that they digivolve with determination to defeat you. This was cool to have as a fun little rivalry to have on the side that can challenge you to see if you are on par with the level to where the game wants you to be. And that these guys are essentially the black variants of what the game wants you to have canon-wise. As for side quests that do recruit citizens, well, they can bring a lot to the table, either heighten the experience or make the game easier to manage. If you're low on food, you have an agriculture district to farm veggies and meat from other Digimon. Don't ask. Need items? Well, here's a shop, and the more Digimon that join in, the more stock and equipment are available. This is only possible because you went around the world finding these citizens, and the game rewards you for the exploration, not only from the materials they find along the way, but hey, you are told to meet said Digimon. Oh, I remember them from the volcano level, and etc. etc. This game revolves around adventuring for the most part. So you need to go look around. You need to go check every corner of the game. And it just gives it a lot more things to do. Because sometimes there will always be a new Digimon that took the place of wherever you last met one. There's always something new every time you progress through the game. But the one I believe is the most important is when you unlock Grapleomon in the Digi Dojo, where he can unlock certain Evo Paths so that you're almost guaranteed to get the Digimon you want. Thank God! You still have to meet the requirements that said path needs to make it, but it's better than death! And to make it easier, the more citizens you recruit will potentially increase your tamer level, which will grant you tamer points to upgrade certain skills that can make any of the busy stuff easier, like raising your partners, farmer benefits, fishing, battling benefits. Honestly, it just keeps going. And if you're unhappy with the upgrades that you got, you can always restart and relocate your points immediately to suit the immediate needs you need at the moment. This made the game much more fun for me, as now I was able to not only make the Digimon I want whenever they reset, but the process of raising becomes way more manageable, letting me make Digimon like Examon, Galamon, Black Wargreymon, and Black Metal Garurumon. In terms of evolving, I was thrilled to get the Digimon that I want. But I do believe that blindly evolving your Digimon in the beginning of the game has its own fun, as it's easy to appreciate Digimon that you would never have considered in the first place. Saberdramon is my pick for that. I never got to make Machine Dramon, as by the time I had the capability to make one, I was already on my way to the end of the game, and want to end the game with an EXE Digimon to wrap up the story. And this kind of sucks because Machine Dramon is one of my favorite Digimon next to Examon. But for the time being, I'll hold him off from him later, and maybe I'll talk about him more on another time. I will say, this guy's a behemoth, and he's awesome. Speaking of which, I didn't go over the story much, and I don't intend on spoiling it, as I think it's worth playing and experiencing. However, I will go over some of the main characters, as I think I should do that at the very least. Well, obviously, there's Digimon, who tells you the main plot right at the beginning of the rampaging Machinedramons, asks you, the player, to find out why and help recruit citizens to Floadia. He, and soon after Talmon, will be one of the main supporters who direct you on where and when you have to go. Then there's Koda and his partner Guilmon, who also wound up in the Digiworld and have a strong passion to get stronger, by any means necessary. Himari and Salomon, who also wind up in this mess. However, Himari has an urgency to try to get back home, while Salma wants to help Himari any way she can, but she can't help but see that how stressed Himari is throughout the entire experience. Then there's Lush, who I can't go over too much due to spoilers. What I can say is she's a mysterious little girl who lacks a partner and strangely lacks any memory of her past. Then there's the guest characters from previous games. However, only 2 of them are actually important to the story, so I'm going to skip her. The 2 that I'll talk about are Waifu Tax and Mameo. Mirai is her name, and debut in Digimon World Redigitized, and she enters halfway through the game to aid us with info that she found while crossing dimensions, I think? She's also a stupid expensive card. Mameo, however, enters as a man who was mistaken to be the one to be transforming Digimon into Machinedramon, while instead was the one trying to stop the forced evolution. He mainly guides you with advice and programs that he made, since he's all too familiar with both Digimon and Machinedramon, as he was the one who killed the very original. Yes, Mameo is the player character all the way back to the original Digimon World, but he can't help with battling, as his Digimon was infected with a virus that prevents it from evolving from an egg. Now, there are 2 final characters I can't say too much, as they are key elements to the plot, but this is as much as I'll give you. One is Shoma, a mysterious kid who has 2 Digimon just like you, and is also interested with the Machinedramon and variant evolutions. I don't know much about the variant thing, just go with it. And then Omniwan Zwardi, a twisted version of the black variant of Omnimon, who was the guardian of the digital world, but has gone to rampage on his own due to, well, everything that's going on. Now, I could go on talking more about them, but that will spoil key parts of the story, and I think the game story is actually worth playing through, as it teaches that despite one's hardships, there's always room for growth, and this is reflected on their Digimon as the game goes on, as they digivolve. Digimon World Next Order is a very flawed game. It does give options and abilities to enhance the gameplay to your liking, with a fun story and fantastical world. Now, would I recommend this to everyone? Well, no. Yeah, this is where I draw the line in terms of recommendation. So, if you like the Digimon franchise as a whole, whether it be just the games, the card games, whatever, then this game will do well for you. I think this is a great game to play if you're a fan of Digimon. However, if you're just a casual fan of RPGs, I'm going to recommend Digimon Cyber Sleuth. This game is much easier to get into. It's more direct in terms of storytelling and missions, as well as not much of a grind fest as Digimon World. Next Order isn't for everyone, that is understandable. But there is so much in this game that I think is better off playing than watching a video explaining, and some funny moments that can happen, like how I didn't understand how Extra Cross Evolution works, and was barely winning against Saimon when I meant to make Omegamons work to end the fight easier. I will say there was one funny mistake that I don't understand, is when I made Examon and Galmon, I wanted to make the Extra Cross Evolution with Galmon Crimson mode, but got Imperialdramon Fighter mode instead, despite in Grindosaurus it says nothing of this happening. I don't know, I just thought it was funny. Now, if you plan to pick up this game, I would suggest either getting a Switch version or a Steam version, as getting a working PS4 version, well, this is definitely possible, but even though it's cheap, I would just go for something more convenient. Okay, now that that's done, now's the time to check on little Goji, now that he's gone through all that abuse, and see if he's grown any further. Okay, next time I raise a monster, I should probably cross up the machine path.